about 30 days left for the FRM Part 1 exam, and I'm sure it's running on your mind in terms of how do you prepare, what to do, what not to do. So this in this small video in about 10-15 minutes, we will discuss certain strategies and proven techniques that may help you in your preparation strategy. And as you can see on my screen, I have this 6-point list that I'm going to discuss and give you some inputs on what might be the best way to go about your preparation in the last 30 days. First, look at the first 2 points. Here the discussion is going to be about how do you revise, what's the smartest way. So here's a general game plan. As you already know, there are going to be 100 questions on the FRM Part 1 exam. Now, based on what I've understood from and what I've heard from the candidates, out of 100, about 50 questions are not so challenging. These are like pure play, formula based or concept based question. If you remember stuff well, you should be able to answer these questions easily. So these are like the low hanging fruits, right? Now, the only trick is, in order to be able to eat those low hanging fruits, the efforts you need to make is you should be able to memorize or revise all the formulas and reproduce them super fast on the day of exam. For example, if there is a question on, let us say, binomial tree, and you have to calculate that risk neutral probability. So you see the data, immediately that formula should come to you. If it takes you a few seconds, you have to think, okay, what was the exponent? Was it e raised to rt or what? If you are in that phase, you're missing out on valuable time on the exam. So the trick is to keep on revising again and again and again till the time it doesn't come to you, naturally. And you have to revise formulas, you have to revise concepts. Now, how do you do it? As many of you already know, we've introduced the FRM juice notes, FRM Part 1 juice notes for this season. And what we have done is we've converted the entire FRM curriculum to about less than 200 odd pages. Okay, so, and maybe I have a copy open here, I'll show you one of them. So I just downloaded one from the FinTree website, and these are your FRM Part 1 juice notes. As you can see, they're mapped to the learning outcomes, and we've kind of covered every learning outcome, but we've tried to put that in a more graphical fashion so that it's easier and faster for you to revise, right? So the entire Part 1 gets covered in 200 pages, which means you can read it more number of times, and that way you'll be able to retain better. But let's say you don't have access to juice notes, then how do you go about it? Make a list of all the formulas by yourself, okay, and keep on revising it. Maybe make a poster on your wall, write them on a big poster, put that on your wall, revise that every day in the morning. Then whatever notes that you might have read through, maybe you've used the Schwezer material or you might have used core material, then if you've highlighted or underlined, you can revise through that part again and again, right? So spend a lot of time revising, because the more number of times you revise, the better is going to be recall on the day of exam. Then spend a lot of time practicing questions. Okay, so which questions to practice? So I have put a list of questions which I believe are representative and good quality practice in the last 30 days. First is Philip Jorian. Philip Jorian is an author. He's written a book for FRM. It's fairly old book, I guess. I don't remember 2008 or 10 publication. It is available on Amazon. It's available on internet, I guess. You can look it up. Now, he has a lot of questions between those readings, and the quality of questions is really good. Okay, so if you can get your hands on this particular book, and if you try to practice those questions, I think that would be a good set practice. Now, those FinTree candidates who have access to the FinTree learning management system, what you can do is you can go under the Q&A section. We have a separate Q&A section on the website, and then we have been able to reconstruct a lot of questions which are similar to the kind of questions which are there in the Philip Jorian book, and then we've made videos on those questions. You can just go and watch there, and that's going to do the job for you. Then GARP mocks. So 2019 mock is already available under your dashboard on the GARP website. Download that, solve those questions. Again, good quality stuff. Then practice. There's so many mosquitoes here. I just opened my windows. I'm sorry. So then practice questions from the John Hull book. John Hull contributes a big chunk of FRM Part 1 curriculum, especially in Book 3 and Book 2. and he has good questions at the end of every reading. Now, not all of those questions are multiple choice question, but they're still good quality practice. Again, a lot of similar questions are available on FinTree LMS under the Q&A review. Then we have built those 3 high quality mocks, and we've made those 3 mocks keeping 50-30-20 rule in mind. I'll explain that in a bit. But there are 3 mocks available on the FinTree under FinTree login. Download them. They're available in PDF format. Download them, print them, and practice them from morning 8 to 12. Try to time and try to finish all of them in 4 hours time, so that you get kind of prepared for that particular time frame for the actual exam. Okay, so that's about your practice. Now, some other valuable tips, and this is the kind of discussion we've had multiple times in the past, that is there a subject-wise cutoff? Is there a subject-wise cutoff on FRM Part 1? And there is no clear yes or no answer here. Okay, so like the guard does not say yes or no about subject-wise cutoff. But what we have learned by looking at the results of the candidates who've been taking training with us, my intuitions or my gut feeling says that there is a good chance their passing algorithm has some sort of a importance to subject-wise scores as well. What I'm trying to say is, if you score very good in book 1, 2 and 3, but if you somehow mess up in book 4, there is a probability you would not pass, which means it is not a good strategy to leave out one subject completely. Do all the 4 subjects. Now, one of the things that goes wrong with a lot of candidates is they spend a lot of time on book 2, 3 and 4 because they're kind of challenging and they're mathematical in nature, there are calculations involved. But a lot of people kind of underestimate the book 1. It looks theoretical, it looks very boring to read. But what happens is, on the day of exam, my guess is book 1 are going to be the most challenging questions. If I give you a Black-Scholes question, give you data, if you remember the formula, you'd be able to solve it. But if we start discussing about roles and responsibilities of CRO, and then suddenly, on the day of exam, all the 4 options are going to look similar. So please do not underestimate book 1. Spend a reasonable amount of time, read through the theory very carefully, repeat multiple number of times, remember all those factoids from financial disasters and all of that stuff. Those are low-hanging fruits. Spend good time on those portfolio management reading on CAPM, multi-factor models. Those are easy 3-4 questions on the exam. Again, we've built beautiful summary in juice notes. Okay, so even if you just read through them multiple times and practice, you're going to be okay. And then finally, time management on FRM exam is going to be extremely important. So in a follow-up series, I'll be posting another video on time management, maybe a week before the exam. But just to give you a general background on this, my understanding is that out of about 100 questions on the exam, 50 questions are fairly easy. They're not going to be so difficult. So if you're someone who's really practiced all of this stuff, you're going to be quite comfortable with 50. About 30 questions are going to be somewhere in between. They would be challenging, but not so much if you're conceptually strong. Okay, so for example, there might be, let's say, a binomial option model valuation. You might be required to calculate, let's say, probability, but they would throw in, some sort of a currency stuff there. Okay, so slight improvisation over an easy question. And then there would be 20 questions or around 20 questions which would be quite challenging. I call them distractors. These 20 questions take a lot of time on the exam and they don't give you enough time to work on these easy 50 or 30 questions. So when you practice mocks, this is something you'll have to teach yourself, that if you come across a question that's taking too much of time, maybe it makes sense to just put a star mark and move on. Correct? And I'll be discussing about this in depth in one of my subsequent videos. But right now, this is roughly the game plan. This is what you're going to do. Keep on revising formulas and concepts. Use juice notes as much as you can. Spend a lot of time practicing. I've already given you a checklist. And then do not underestimate book 1. That's roughly the game plan. 30 days left. Use that time wisely. All of you have worked hard. You're going to pass. Okay, so just be positive. Keep on doing this. Keep on doing good positive work every day without worrying about results or what happens on the day of exam, and before you realize you'll be through with this particular exam and will be celebrating your success. Enjoy your studies. If you have any comments to be made, if you have any questions, put them in the comments in the video below this and I'll try to answer them.